Hello, hello. Happy Saturday. Very excited to see you and spend the weekend with you. I am going to do something new this week. Normally, I code a whole long course in Python. This week, I figured it would be fun to not code something in Python, but walk through doing it with you live. I'm going to mess it up. I'm not going to edit any of the information in here. You're going to see me struggle through this, or maybe not in real time, and just walk through how I actually code some of the behind the scenes of what I do in my normal everyday life. And I'm teaching a live Python course on Tuesday, but as part of that, I wanted to create a referral program just to try and get more people to invite their friends. And I'm going to be giving away some courses during the live program, but in doing that, I'm going to give people extra points, an extra lottery ticket for every person that they refer. So together, we're going to walk through live me actually implementing that referral program. Don't want to pay for anything. I'm too cheap. I think that it's very easy to implement on your own. So I'm going to do it myself. And then if you're hosting your own website on Webflow, then maybe this is helpful for you, or it might just be cool to see some of the behind the scenes process. So what we're going to do together is we're going to take this landing page that I made for my live course where there are 3 fields in this form. It's your name, your email, and then who referred you. And we're going to set up a personalized referral link for each individual person where when they send the link to someone else, it'll auto-populate that they referred them, that their referrer email is already filled in. The next thing that I want to do is when I send out an email after they click sign me up, I want to be able to send out an email to people that includes the personalized referral link so they can just click, copy, paste, send it to a friend very simply. And so I want to automate that. So whenever they click their link and they sign up, then it'll automatically generate a new link for each person in Mailchimp, and we'll walk through that campaign together and setting that up. And then finally, when they actually click sign me up, there's going to be a submission page, which I'll just show you a sneak peek of submission, but not filled in, which right now it says, thanks for taking my live course or signing up for my live course, and includes a referral link here. But I want to auto-populate that referral link on the page, and I want to include their name just to make it a little bit more personal. So if they include their name on the last page, I just want to include it here. There are multiple ways to sign up on the landing page of my site. There's going to be a pop-up in about 2 seconds that shows that you can sign up for the live course. It doesn't ask for a name. So if they sign up here, I just want it to be blank and just say, thanks for signing up. And if not, if they sign up and they actually include their name, I want to include that on the page. But we'll walk through all the functionality together. And I'm just going to implement this in real time. I haven't done this yet. You're going to see me struggle through this and try to do it on my own. So a couple ways that this is going to work. You've probably seen this before, or may have, may not, but you can auto-populate information on forms in a page by passing parameters through your URL. And the way that this is going to work, and I'll just show you really quickly, is that if I were to inspect elements and find the ID of the individual field that I want to auto-populate, which in this case is the referrer email, it looks like the name of this, the ID is referrer email here. And what I can do is I'm just going to copy that, and just to show you how this works, so I can do a question mark, and I'll type referrer email equals, and I'll just type my email in. So mattblank11@gmail.com. And you'll see that once I do that, it'll auto-populate my email. Or I can make this like literally anything. And it'll fill in literally anything. So it'll put in whatever text you want. And so you're probably getting a sense now that the way that this referral is going to work is I'm going to set up a personal URL for each individual person who signs up that takes their email and inputs it here as the referrer email. So this is going to be the referrer email at gmail.com or whatever their email is. We're just going to auto-populate it here. And we're basically going to do the same thing on the back end. So when they fill that out, we're going to get all this information from the person who signs up. They're going to automatically be added to Mailchimp. And then in Mailchimp, I just want to be able to add their email here. I want to set up a personal referral link where it basically takes the link to my live course, which is likeim5.com/live-course. And then I want to take this final part, this question mark referrer email, and auto-populate in whatever their email is, which is just a field we can get through Mailchimp. And then finally, the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to the submission page. Let me do that one more time. Live course submission. Oops, that's not a real page. But so that when they go to this page, it'll auto-populate their name and their email whenever they get sent back here. And that's just going to all be done through parameters here as well. So that if I pass some parameters here, it looks like I'd already published it and I'd already done some of these steps, but I'll show you the code for this particular part where I'm going to figure out how to add my name dynamically here. So if this were any other name, it would literally populate whatever, just depending on whatever variable I pass through the URL. So let me do that correctly with spaces. Quick pro tip: if you want to add a space into a URL, it's %20. Boom. So we'll walk through this together. Cool. Okay, so we saw that the personal URL is just going to be. Let me go back here. Basically just this URL, and we're going to do % or $ refer email, and it's going to be some email. It's going to be anything. So the way that I'm going to set up this campaign is that once this person's actually added to Mailchimp and we actually have this campaign set up that will auto send an email to them, then I'm going to set up the URL like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the section that I want to hyperlink. I'm going to add a URL, and the URL is going to be https www.likeim5.com/live-course !refer-email equals. That's going to be the first part of this. And I'm going to want to add a merge field so that it takes their email and it adds it to this URL. But I'm just going to insert that for a second. And the actual merge tag that I want to use, if I click on merge tags, is going to be this email address. So it looks like that email address is going to work. And now if I go back into the URL and add that to the end, then what my hope is, and we're going to test this in a second, is that when this email sends out, it's going to take this entire URL and it's going to take the email that this email is sending to, and it's going to auto add their email and not just include these like weird characters, the star, pipe, email in all caps. It'll actually replace that text with their actual email. So let's go ahead and insert that. I'm going to preview and test. Let's send a test email to mattblank11@gmail.com. And so what we should see is that when we go to that URL, it's going to auto send it to www.likeim5.com/live-course refer-email equals mattblank11@gmail.com. And there we go. I think it's going to show up in my junk folder for some reason. Cool. So it's going to say excited to see you live. And now when I click on this, your personal referral link, it should populate refer-email equals, why didn't that work? Maybe save. Let's try one more time. Told you, this is going to be live. We're going to work through this together. So let's see the link one more time. Equals email. Well, that was 11:29 a.m. Let's try one more time. Maybe it just didn't save when it sent. Bon voyage. Let's go back to my junk folder. Let's see when that gets up and running. Okay, cool. Take two. Let's see if this is actually working. I wonder if this URL now does include, it looks like it just wasn't saved last time. Cool. Okay, awesome. So now my MailChimp campaign is all set up. So it's going to take my email. It's going to auto add it to the URL. So now it's going to send out as a personal referral link, which is cool. And it required almost no work. All we had to do was, you can do this with any CRM. So if you don't use MailChimp, you could probably use literally anyone that you want. But it's just going to auto add that particular field to this form so that anytime you send this out, all they need to do is add their name, their email, and then they can press sign me up, and you get credit for them having signed up. Now, there is some Python that's going on the back end that's actually accumulating those stats and adding it to MailChimp. I won't go through that now, but the main point here is you can set up personalized links for people through Webflow or really any website by just auto-filling form fields through these query parameters. So that's one. And then the next thing that we want to do, and I'm just going to show you what it looks like when I sign up. So I'm going to say that I'm Matt Blank, and I'm going to sign up here. Let's just say that I referred myself. Then when I sign up, it's going to take a second because there's some processing that goes on in the back end, but it usually doesn't take this long. Maybe my computer's just being slow. It's usually instantaneous. Creepy. Okay, I don't know why that took so long, but you can see that now I have it set up where it says, thanks for signing up for my live course, Matt. So I want to be able to pull just their first name. And this personal referral link shows up again. So I want to be able to add it in the same way that we just took the email and we kind of auto added it dynamically to the URL that we had posted on MailChimp. I want to do the same thing in Webflow by just taking whatever link we have pre-populated here and dynamically changing that in the URL. And the way this is going to work is slightly different. So the way that we're going to do this is through JavaScript. So we're going to take the information that's on the page, and it's going to be set up in a normal way on Webflow. So you can see even, I have my page set up here. This is the back end of that live course submission page, where all that shows here is this text that says, thanks for signing up for my live course. And I want to do two things on the back end. I want to write JavaScript that takes a name that I pass back here, and you can see in the URL that we pass back two parameters. We send back the name, which is Matt, and the email, which is mattblank11@gmail.com, which is, again, there's some Python that's happening on the back end that's making this work, but I won't walk through that this second. So that's step one. And then step two is we want to take that information from the queries that from the parameters that we set in the URL, and we want to do something with that on the page, which is where JavaScript is going to come in. So I'm going to write a script that's going to take the URL information, these two parameters here, the name and the email, and it's going to do something with that on the page. It's going to take, in this particular case, the text in this particular section here, this thanks for signing up for my live course. And I'd shown you at the beginning there are two different ways that people can sign up. They can sign up on a home page where it just takes an email, so it won't actually include a name there, or it'll do it through this live course page, in which case they will input a name. And so if there is a name, then I want it to include the name, kind of like you see here. But if not, then I want it to just be, thanks for signing up for my live course, ! And then the second thing that we want to do is we're going to take this link here. It's going to be an href tag, and we're going to take the URL that's already set there, and we're going to replace it with, we're just going to append to it that email that we found up here in the URL. So in order to do that, you can go to Webflow and then project settings, which takes you here, and then you can go into custom code. At the very bottom where it says footer code, add code for the body tag. We're going to write a new script that's going to take the information from the URL and it's going to input that into the page. It's going to do something with it in the way that we described. So I'm going to start that up by making a script and then ending this with script tag that's just going to let our page know that there's some script that's going to run when the page loads. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to get the information from the URL. We need to get this name and email parameter here. So let's do that first. Let's say that the query string, which is going to be that that information after the question mark, we can set up as, I'm going to create a new variable called query string, which is going to be equal to some information in the window, and it's going to look for, I'll write this and explain it because I'm terrible at multitasking. It's going to take some information. It's basically going to look for that URL that the page is actually going to, and it's going to get the information for us for those parameters. So we're going to say the URL params is equal to URL search params in the query string And I'm just going to show you what that looks like here. So I'm going to, in Python, it's printing, but we can log information in the console through JavaScript, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So I'm going to just print out URL params. I'm going to save. I'm going to publish our website. So now what you're going to see when we actually go to this page, I'm going to inspect element and show the console. So I'd show you we're going to log information to the console. That's what it's doing here. So when the page loads, can't find anything query string. Maybe I just typed that in correctly. Oh, we don't, yeah, we want query string, not query string. Let's try that one more time. I told you this is going to be unedited. You're going to watch me go through this in real time. Cool. So now let's try one more time. Should work now. Great. So now it's including information here. It looks like we have, let's see where I can find for you that information. It's going to have, I guess you're just going to have to trust me for a second, but I'm going to prove to you that that information exists, because what we're going to do is we're going to get the, we're going to get two different variables, because there are two different parameters in this URL. There's name and there's email. So we're going to get each of those individually. So I'm going to get, and I'll print them out just to show you that this works. So let's go back. Let's get, let's say const name is equal to URL params.get, and we're going to get the name from there. And then the same thing that we're going to do for email. So const email is equal to URL params.get email. We can print out name, we can print out email, just to show you what's going on the back end. So let me save that. Hope I typed everything correctly. Cool. Okay, so the first thing we printed out was the name, which is Matt, and the second thing was matt11@gmail.com, which is great. And I'd shown you that there are two different ways that this is going to work. So either there's going to be a name or there's not going to be a name, in which case that's going to be blank. And if it's blank, then what I want it to do is only include the personalized email, but just include an exclamation point to be like super excited that, hey, thanks for signing up for my live course, even if I don't know your name. But if there is a name, then I want it to include the name up here as well, along with an exclamation point. So we're going to have two different things that happen. And then similarly, we're going to take this link here, inspect element. We're going to take this link here, which is currently just what we saw earlier on Mailchimp. It's just the unpersonalized version of this. It's https://www.likeim5.com/livecourse !refer email. And we want to append the refer email, which in this case is mattblank11@gmail.com, to that URL here. So what we're going to do, and that's just to be able to identify this, what we're going to do is we're basically going to take, in this particular case, the href, which is that link, with an ID of referral link, and we're going to append the email there, versus up here, we're going to take this text, the submission thank you, and we're going to append specific text, in this case, the name, or just an exclamation point, to that text once we find it. So let's go back to the code, and what we're going to do is I'm going to take these variables that we found, and I'm going to do something with them now that we've found them. And let me just create some space here. I'll move my face to this side so you can actually see the code. Okay, cool. So first we need to do two things. I need to find the, the text where that, hey, thanks for signing up for my live course is, and I want to find the referral link as well. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to say const, call this thank you text, is equal to, and that's going to be the document, which is basically like the underlying HTML, and we're going to find an element by ID, which is going to have some ID, and we saw that that was thank you text. Where to go? Submission thank you. I'm going to take that, and then we're going to get the inner HTML of that. That's going to be just basically the text that's inside of here. And we can even show you, we can console.log thank you text. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have two scenarios. If there's a name, then we want to append that name to this text here. And if not, we just want to add an exclamation point. And let me just get the URL just to show you that we can access that information. So I'll call this like referral link or something like that, referral link. I'm going to say it's very similar, document.get, and really not important that you understand the exact syntax of what's going on here. More important that you're able to just follow conceptually what we're doing, which is getting some information on the page and then using variables that we've been able to pass to the page from the URL in order to update information on the page. And this ID here, I think it's referral link. Let me go get it. ID is referral link. Cool. Let's log out referral link. And I'll just save changes quickly. We'll publish, and then we'll see what that looks like here. Back in the console. Cool. Okay, so we got name, email, thank you text, and then here we want to get not just that text there. It looks like we want to get the href, but that's okay. We were at least able to see that we could access that information. So I'm going to start by just first doing the thank you text part, which is taking that text that was on the page, and if there's a name, appending the name to the to this thank you text, and if not, then just adding an exclamation point. So I'm going to say if name, because it's basically like, is there a name in there? Then we're going to do something, and otherwise we're not going to do anything. We're just going to take that text and we're going to append an exclamation point to it. So if not, then I'm going to take the document.get element by ID. I'll basically just copy and paste all this. HTML. And we're going to append just an exclamation point to it. I'm going to do it in kind of a fancy way. So these angular quotes, which are connected to the tilde, I can add just the thank you text variable to it, and then add an exclamation point. It's kind of like a fancy print statement. So that's the first part. And the next part that we're going to do is we're basically going to do this exact same thing. We're going to set the HTML just with the name and an exclamation point if the name exists. So we're going to do thank you text, and we're going to add a space. I'll do name if the name exists. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to take the referral link and we're going to add the email to it. So if there's an email, which there should be since it's patched to the page, but I just don't want there to be any error on the page, I'll say if there's an email, then we'll take the referral link dot href, which is this part here is the href, which is the link to that particular part of the page. We're going to set that equal to, we're going to add the email to it. And we can really clean this up a little bit too. We can take away the name email. Let's save that. Publish it. So now that's up. Get rid of that there. Cool. So now it's taking our name and our email and it's adding it here, and we can click on this link just to make sure it's personalizing it correctly. And it's adding, cool, the email of that particular person that we passed it to. And just to check to make sure that it's doing this correctly, even if there's no name. Cool. It's adding just the exclamation point if there's no name that's actually passed, which is awesome. So let's go back. And I just want to try one more thing. Let's try to clean up this code a little bit further. Let's say thank you text. Thank you text. Let's see if this works. Now I'll go back. I just want to try something, and then we'll double check this bad boy. All right, cool. Yeah, it looks like it didn't like when we did that, which is cool. So let's say comments. Okay, so it looks like we need to go back and get the inner HTML for that page again, and then set a new value on top of it if we want to do it that way. So I'm going to set this back, publish. Always like a little trial and error. You never know. It's a good way to learn. Anyway, so this was a cool exercise and something that I was excited to walk through with you, where instead of paying, there are a lot of websites that charge a lot of money for referral programs, especially through Webflow. But as you can see, it's really not that hard to set up on your own. I was able to do that in less than 30 minutes by doing a few things. I was able to set up a personal referral link. I was able to update a campaign in Mailchimp to send out that link. And I was able to set up a landing page for when people actually sign up for the course, so that when they go here, it'll automatically input all their information correctly, which we can even see here. So let's say that I input my information again. So I'm going to use my HBS email address, MBA 2022. So that if I were to sign up again, then this is all going to work, no problem. So this was a really fun exercise for me just to set up this referral program. As you can see, it really didn't take that much time or effort. We did this all in less than 30 minutes. I was able to take all the information from people signing up, set up a personal referral link for them, update a campaign in Mailchimp to be able to send that out, and then update the page on this landing page so that once they submit, it includes some of their information. It just makes it a little bit more personal. It includes the personal referral link. It includes their name. Just I think a really nice, easy way to set this up and avoid spending a lot of money on a referral program. There were some that charge like $50 a month just to be able to host a referral program for you. So hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to do this probably once a week or so just to walk through a new thing that I'm coding in the back end, just teach you how to do it. A lot of fun for me. Let me know what you think. And if there's anything that you want me to code in the future and I end up actually doing it, then I'll give you a free course. So why don't you send some submissions to me too? You can email me at mattblank11@gmail.com if you think there's anything cool or interesting that you want me to take on. And in the meantime, hope you have an awesome weekend. Take care.